What if you had cancer and the only thing protecting you from being treated with counterfeit medication was an honest nurse? Lured by a faxed ad in 2007, McLeod Cancer Center in Johnson City, Tennessee began cutting corners by ordering discounted chemotherapy drugs from a company called QSP, Quality Special Products. Their too good to be true prices were from black market medicine that had not been inspected or approved by the FDA. But the nurses at McLeod saw that this medicine was not labeled in English and they knew it was not safe. They confronted the practice's doctors and manager and refused to administer these sketchy drugs to their vulnerable patients. All over the country, those same fax blasts were being sent to thousands of other doctors' offices and many were suckered in. This was a great business for Quality Special Products, who sold themselves to CanadaDrugs.com, a Canadian pharmacy that had been illegally selling Americans non-FDA approved medication for years. And then over the next several years, the FDA tracked down this and 5 other companies, and the FDA sent warning letters to more than 3,000 medical practices in 48 states doing business with them. It was hard to get their hands on the sketchy product because it was often already given to patients. But they managed to intercept 3 shipments of counterfeit Avastin, and when they tested it in a lab, they found it was just water in a bottle, no medicine at all. Back in Tennessee, to smooth over the issue that the nurses found, QSP salesmen bought fancy dinners for some of the practice managers at McLeod Cancer Center. And then they agreed to go back to buying QSP's dodgy products. But to fool the nurses, McLeod Cancer Center Dr. Kincaid and his business manager hid the drugs by shipping the products to a self-storage facility and mixing them in with the clinic's legitimate supply. Over the next 2 years, they bought $2 million of QSP's products. It took 6 years for the agents at the FDA's Office of Criminal Investigation and the U.S. Attorney's offices in Missouri, New York, and Montana to prosecute the 6 different companies involved in black market medication and counterfeit Avastin that were doing business in the U.S. Back in Tennessee, Michael Dean Combs, the business manager, and Dr. Kincaid of McLeod had to face the music. Dr. Kincaid pled guilty to receiving unapproved drugs with intent to defraud and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. In 2013, he paid $2.5 million to settle civil claims. Mr. Combs got 3 years probation for receiving misbranded drugs. Along with warnings to medical practices in 48 states, prosecutors across the country brought cases against medical practices, physicians, and individuals in 17 states. They secured sentences and probation of over 100 years against sellers and doctors and levied fines and restitution of over $83 million. Back in Canada, the ringleader of one of the Canadian firms pled guilty, but he never even spent a day in jail in Canada or the US, which seems grossly unfair. If you or a loved one was treated by one of these doctors, we'd like to hear your story. Please check the article below for a list of medical practices warned by the FDA and contact us at editors@safemedicines.org. You can read more about this ugly episode in counterfeit drug history in our report, Black Market Cancer Drugs in the U.S., in the article below. If you like our videos, please press the thumbs up button on YouTube and then click this icon to subscribe to see future ones. And if you want to see other videos about counterfeit medicines, COVID-19, COVID scams, and medicine safety, click this playlist. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.